is Vanessa Eve, and I'm the Director of Community Relations for the Streammate Network. During the month of August, we're partnering up with Rae Threat for a collaboration through Elevate, a community initiative that shines a spotlight on adult members and allies who are working to make a positive impact within their communities. As part of this collaboration, Rae has thoughtfully chosen the speakers and the topic that we'll be discussing here today, which is the role of representation in adult media. Before we get started, let's take a moment to go around our virtual roundtable for some introductions. Please share your name and a little bit about what you do in adult and how long you've worked in the industry for. Who better to kick us off than our partner, Rae Threat? So Rae, you have the floor.
Hi, I'm Rae Threat. I'm a photographer, videographer. I've been in the industry since Courtney handed me a camera, I think in 2008, 2009. I'm now the head of content creator outreach at apclips.com.
Hi, my name is Courtney Trouble. I've been turning people into adult workers for 20 years. No, I started in Y2K as a very young sex worker who wanted to see bodies and minds like mine and my friends represented in the adult industry after a few years of doing phone sex for cis guys and learning all about their fantasies and stuff. My big art project as a ripe 19-year-old was to start a porn site. So I did, and I feel like it's become my calling, and I feel like I've learned so many things from it. And yeah, I've managed to be in a couple hundred porn scenes with only ever stepping on a mainstream set once, and that's kind of my claim to fame. Tons of performances, and I produce and direct as well, although that's harder these days. So always excited to be in conversations like this because representation is harder and harder to find these days in porn. So happy to be here.
Anna,
you should go.
I saw you holding up.
It's my face. I'm Anna Foxxx. I've been in the adult industry for 11 years, 12 years. I don't know how long I've been professionally sucking dick, but a long time. I'm a performer, a producer. I produce content for Playboy Plus. I also do mainstream work. So my titties have been in the big screen. You had to buy a ticket to see them. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I am one of the most awarded Black female performers in adult history. And I think that's me, Anna Foxxx.
Hell yes. I think I'll go next. Am I the last one? Okay.
No,
Hi.
Leo's here.
And Leo.
Okay. Hi, my name is Astro Domina. I'm a professional dominatrix. I'm a cam model, fetish producer, and all-around serial adventurer. I've been in the industry since 2011. I did a little bit of mainstream porn because, it's kind of fun to jump into different niches, right? And yeah, and here I am.
All right, I guess I'm up, right? So
Leo!
Hey, sorry I'm late. I was getting this awesome nice haircut and just ran a little bit late. So you know how LA traffic is and all that fun stuff. But my name is Leo Weiss. I am a performer in the adult entertainment industry. I've been doing this for a little bit around 4-ish something years. The timeline gets kind of tricky because COVID really COVID was like 2 lost years for everybody, really, right? But yeah, no, I started off self-producing in this industry. This is how I got in. But nowadays I'm more of just a performer. I still shoot my own content for OnlyFans and things like that. But most of the time I'm just a dick for hire for sets. So here I am. And yeah, that's kind of the quick and easy intro about me right now.
Okay, so let's start off by defining what representation means. Our very official source at Google defines representation in terms of media as how the media portrays people and communities in TV, film, news, and social media. It can include aspects like gender, age, race, ethnicity, physical abilities, national and regional identity, and social issues. This is a really robust topic, so today we've broken down our conversation into 3 sections: societal impacts, portrayals, and personal responsibility and considerations. So section 1, it's been purported that porn, like other forms of media, is solely intended for entertainment purposes. However, the reality is that porn can be so much more than mere entertainment. It has the powerful ability to shape, inform, and even validate ideals and perceptions about sexuality and identity among consumers through its compelling narratives and provocative depictions. Knowing this, why do you feel that representation matters in porn? Let's start with you, Rae.
Because it's important. Yes, thank you. I'm gonna put attention on Courtney again. I think it's like this is when I really knew the impact of porn, of porn, especially queer porn. When I was an artist in residence at Level Ground, and for my project, I was doing an art project and art show where the art project itself was like a documentary where I interviewed people about how media, society, their environment shapes like their view of themselves, their body image. And one of the people that I interviewed was a trans woman who had just recently transitioned. And one of the most like impactful things that she said was that if she had never found queer porn, if she'd never found Courtney's porn, like specifically, that she wouldn't have known that people like her existed. And it came to her like that she was unhappy. That was why she was always unhappy. That's why she was depressed. And watching Courtney's porn shifted that, and that they finally felt seen and accepted. And yeah, but I also know, like, touching on all other stuff, like porn has always been on the forefront of all advocacy. I've always said this, like sex workers, porn workers, they're huge advocates already for free speech. Like just doing what you are doing already, you're already like advocates for like, freedom of expression, sexuality, all that. But you're also all like, we're all on the forefront of like changing things. Like gay rights wouldn't exist if it weren't for like for Black trans sex workers starting to riot. And like right now, like banking discrimination and like all those things, but also an impact of like, in society, porn is usually like, people search for it, and what they search for is things that like, I mean, that's what they'd be into. And sorry, my brain just died because I didn't finish my coffee, but you know what I'm saying? That impacts them in a certain way. Porn impacts them in a certain way.
I guess I'll chime in, because at the end of the day, porn is art, right? Whether you like it or not, it's a form of art. It's just erotic art. And art is not made in a vacuum, and it's also not consumed in a vacuum. It's a part of the overall culture that creates and consumes the artistic product that we create. So representation is important. It matters because it helps us depict what we feel we should be represented as, and the consumers start actually kind of seeing what we want them to see in our depictions of ourselves. So I could just speak for myself and for like Asian men, right? A lot of art and media in Western society depicts Asian men as asexual, as timid, as shy, as essentially just not sexual creatures and sexual beings. And because of that depiction, there's a lot of stereotypes about Asian men that go around unchecked by media and society as a whole. So one of the reasons I'm here doing what I do is to show that Asian men essentially are just normal, right? Like we are sexual, we are like, we can be romantic, we can do all these things and so forth. And porn is a great avenue for me to showcase that, because, let's just be honest, if I was trying to do it through the lens of Hollywood, film, television, and so forth, it would require someone to write a script requiring an Asian lead in a romantic role that doesn't do kung fu and karate, that isn't, some martial arts expert who just gets to be a normal person to romanticize a woman, right? And like the stars need to align for that to occur. Whereas in porn, I can just be an Asian dude who romances and hooks up with the hot woman. Done. We're sending that image out there to the world. And hopefully when people see that, it starts normalizing it in their head and their ideas. It's like, oh yeah, no, like Asian men aren't robotic, non-loving, non-sexual creatures. They're normal like everyone else out there. And to me, that's kind of why representation matters. It opens up the possibility and normalizes people in a way that oftentimes our stereotypes and our cultural reflection doesn't do them the proper justice.
Yes.
I don't want to derail it,
Well
but like
said,
I know,
Ria. Well said.
yeah, no, OkCupid did a study or like a thing a few years back, and it stuck with me a lot that they did a survey asking like, you know, who's the least attractive or like, you know, least sought out, like dateable people on OkCupid, and Asian men were like all the way in the bottom. So that's like, I love what you're doing. Like,
It was
you know,
Asian men and Black women that were deemed the least desirable in the dating pool. And which is again why representation matters, because we gotta
exactly.
work on that.
There is something about porn that does humanize and, like Leo said, normalize sex and the human body. And as far as porn as like a medium, I think it's really powerful because sex itself it isn't limited to language. So no matter what language you speak, sex is a language. So I see representation in porn itself as the media of choice very powerful because you can almost transcend words and start to speak to a universal language of sex and body and belonging. And I don't see that happening in music or television or other forms of media. So when I think about why porn, like for, you know, my interest in creating art that matters, it's definitely about sort of transcending the script a little bit. And I know there's scripts in porn, but I guess I shoot a lot of documentary style, gonzo, high chemistry driven content. And it for me, it's just always so nice to see everyone just be who they are on camera without a script, unedited, unfiltered. That feels just so important to me when I'm speaking of sex and humanity. And that's why I do porn, is because of the representation aspect, I think. It's just a lot easier to say something about humanity just with our bodies. Um, I don't know if that speaks to anyone, but I definitely feel like normalizing my own body as a fat, non-binary punk saved my own life. And then I feel like the message I sent out by putting myself out there as a fat, non-binary queer punk really helped open a conversation about who is allowed to be in pornography. And that's what keeps driving me, is I'm always like striving to see, you know, like what avenues haven't been touched. It's interesting to me.
Why
Well,
do
if
you
it wasn't for, sorry.
go ahead? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, if it wasn't for your like your porn and like, you know, being on your sets and like seeing how accepting everyone was of their own bodies and like, you know, showcasing their bodies and being like, hey, this is what like, you know, other people's bodies look like, I probably would not have felt like, you know, as comfortable in my own body either. Just like, you know, the fact that you were, you know, showcasing it. So yeah, again, back to representation. If I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't be on this road, so like this path. So
I'm glad you're here and you're beautiful.
sorry, Vanessa.
You guys, why do you feel that porn and porn personas are so influential to mainstream society? Especially given a lot of the attitude by mainstream toward porn and, you know, the porn community.
I think what was kind of mentioned before is that sex is universal. It's a very innate human element and aspect in all of us, right? Yeah, it's a very taboo topic to even discuss and mention in a lot of Western media here in the United States. I think other European countries are a little bit better about it, but even then, overall, it's something we don't really talk about. So us doing porn, we are the only people who are actively, loudly, proudly talking about sex, sexuality, and all that stuff. So I see we kind of end up being the voice of sex and sexuality, whether we choose to or not. What, as much as we want to say, hey, what we create is just entertainment, and you shouldn't be learning sex ed from what we do. We're the only ones talking about it. We're the only ones doing it, and we're the only ones putting it out there. So while other people are sweeping it under the rug and trying to hide it from everyone else, we're getting it in front of everyone's faces. And I think that's why what we do carries so much more weight and momentum, more than what we would even want sometimes, purely because we're the only ones really stepping up and letting that spotlight shine on us in the realm of sex, sexuality, and so forth. Other people may talk about it, but we actively do it. We show it. We're like, hey, this is a universal thing. So I think that can be why what we do ripples out into the mainstream zeitgeist.
Anna, you are the most decorated adult female Black performer. So was that intentional for you, as far as like you being this influencer, and with everything that's happened in your career and what it most especially like what it stands for, and what it means maybe to other performers?
I think when I started in porn, I literally was just happy to be here. I just wanted to learn and freely fuck as many people as I could. It wasn't until people started trying to put limits on me that I was like, oh no, I don't think you know how many men are in my family, and that I'm like a dyke at heart. So I'll fuck you up. Like, I remember one of my first award shows, it was like my second year in porn. I was on the red carpet having an interview done, and they were like, oh, well, what are your goals? What are your goals for being in porn? And I was like, I can't wait to win an award. And the guy takes the camera, covers it up, and looks at his friend and is like, starts laughing. And he's like, Black girls don't win awards in porn. And they're like joking with each other, like, oh, she thinks she's gonna win an award. So I was just like, one, how rude, but like, for this to be the narrative in porn is just insane. Like, there was a need for change, and I don't think I would be an advocate if I didn't see like lack of respect, lack of representation. If I didn't see problems, I wouldn't have given so much of a fuck. I think I was shocked with how queer porn was shot. It's come a long way, but my first, like a decade ago in porn, I don't think they knew what gay was. Like, they knew what gay men were, but gay women were like so far removed, not even close to liking or being interested. Like, super heavily on the gay for pay. And I'm a Black woman, so I was happy to, like, I wanted to wear my afro, my natural hair, be my natural self. Wasn't expecting to have fake eyelashes and highlighter everywhere. So I really think a bunch of my moxie and my admiration for the porn industry is just knowing how much better it could be and pushing the envelope of where we should be. And no matter what the consequences are, I feel like it's almost like I'm regurgitating to people, like I'm like vomiting it, because I'm like, you need to know that it doesn't have to be this way, it shouldn't be this way, and that it can be a lot better. So I'm happy to see the change, that more people are getting acknowledged for their accomplishments, but we still have such a long way to go. Like, we're baby stepping it. And I feel like as the people in our positions and our roles, like, we feel it the hardest, because we're POC, because we're queer, because we're this or that. Like, we're hurt from it the most. So it's a little bit of a like a love story with porn too. Like, I'm just trying to get my ex to love me.
So it didn't hinder you then, these issues. It galvanized you to do more.
Yeah, it definitely is not going to hinder me, because I always knew, like, once I made the decision to be in porn, like, I was like, this is where I'm going to be. Like, I'm a whore at heart. I'm not gay for pay. So I just really want my lifestyle career pool to do better, so that way I can exist in a more comfortable space, like, for everyone. Like, I just want coexistence for everyone. I don't want it to be so hard or so gross. Like, I just want it to be better.
Astro, what underlying messaging, if any, do you intend to convey to your viewers through your body of work? You've got pretty strong messaging. I watch your socials and everything that you're doing. Yeah. Is there some sort of underlying message?
Um, that you can be as different as you can be and still make a huge change or make a huge impact in your very own industry. So by that I mean, you know, I grew up in the Philippines. I moved to the US when I turned 21. And, you know, as an immigrant Filipina who literally started with just 2 luggages, like you can basically start anywhere and achieve anything in life. You know, I wasn't expecting to enter porn, to be honest with you, but I was just so fascinated in the kink world. It's very specifically the kink world, and so I'm pretty kinky at heart. I have always been what do you call this? Very, very different. And growing up in a very conservative house, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness too. A lot of repressed thoughts, expressions, and finally, when I moved to the US, it's almost like a burst of freedom and a burst of color happened. So, my like I've said, my underlying message is, you know, you can be whoever you want to be. You can achieve anything in life, even coming from absolutely nothing. And yeah, I also want, specifically for, I think, immigrant females of color. I think I see a lot of them. I see a lot of Filipinas also who are entering the industry, and I love the energy, and I also love the changing landscape of the porn industry. You know, back then it used to be very just, and I don't mean to, you know, I don't mean to be insensitive, but just like I feel like it's mostly geared towards you know, like cis male clientele, but now it's like it's also geared towards for clients like me, because I'm bisexual and I love artistic porn. I love watching the different angles and the different passionate, you know, films that are being made. For example, Foreplay Films has made a lot of a very artistic porn, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is my kind of porn, and I've definitely bought a couple of them. So yeah, and I'm glad that I'm alive today to be able to witness this changing, you know, porn landscape. So
Sure.
yeah.
Shout out to Inca Winter at Foreplay Films too. I think
Yeah,
several of you have,
shout out, yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a general question for all of you then. What impacts do you hope to make through your work?
Since I giggled first, I really like for the longest time I've been, if I'm gonna be titled in porn, I would like to be titled what I actually am. I don't know why I'm titled Ebony constantly, but I'm Nigerian, I'm a woman, I'm a brunette. If I take this wig off, I'm a blonde too. You know, like I would like the impact in porn to like do away with labels and just have humans fucking humans. Like if I have to play a stupid ass stepmom stuck in a dryer one more time, I'm gonna lose my marbles. So I just want to be titled a human. I don't want any more problematic titles. I just want people to know that Black women are not stupid. We're not ghetto. You don't need a big thick ass. You don't have to twerk. You know, like I can be an elegant, classy whore and a slut all in the same sentence, and like it has nothing to do with my race. So I would just like, that's all I want.
For me, okay, I would just like to see less, like, I would like to see more POC, more queer people, more flat bodies, like winning awards, being cast and hired. I would like, I don't want to say I want to see less white thin young girls, but like that's let's break that like stereotype that they always have to be like, a certain body type, a certain look. Like we, like as people all look different, all have different orientation, sexuality. Like, can we see that more? That's what I'd like to see change. Like I want like, big studios to hire like, more fat performers, more queer performers, more POC. And yeah, that's pretty much what I like to see.
I'll pick like a selfish one and then like a not a selfish one. The change I would like to see is it shouldn't be so hard for me to get cast in a film. It's been such a crazy ride, and it always just ends up with like, okay, I guess I'm self-funding, I guess I'm self-producing. And with every year that goes by, my viability even as a plus size performer, it just goes out the window. I'm 41 right now, so I'm like virtually uncastable. And so I would like that to change. I would love for there to be a role or like 100 roles at like all the companies that I'm so proud of us for not even naming. We're like being really good here. But every single one of them from A to Z, right, should have roles for 40-year-old fat dykes. Like what? Why am I not in a movie with Anna Foxx? I've known her for over 15 years. No one's ever put us together, but we're real dykes. So I'm just like, the change I want to see is like, I think porn would reward itself by making some of these changes, because anytime I do something risky like that, I see the rewards monetarily, like critically. I wouldn't be here if like the change that I was aiming for didn't like somehow translate to better porn and better money for people in porn. I know it works. So like I'm just waiting to see when people are actually going to do what they say they're doing and start casting us together. Like specifically thin fit, like porn stars like Anna Foxx with like someone big and fat like me.
I'd love
I
to
just
fuck
don't
you.
see it. I would love to fuck you. I think we would break the internet. I
I'd
Hell
wasn't
yeah.
even expecting
I'll
that.
film that right. Like, let's make this happen. Let's make it happen. I'll film it, dude. Because I
Okay,
want to
I'll
see
just
that
go to
happen.
LA.
Yeah,
I
let's
actually,
figure it
I'm
out.
always afraid of going to
Leo, you're in
LA
it
because I'm
too.
like, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to see that happen. Hi,
Hi,
Natassia.
Natasha.
Hi, baby.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. Like, they're like, like we've been talking about representation and how like important and impactful it's been, and you've been on the forefront. You've been like impacting, like you've been advocating for a lot of change. So I thank you so much for being a part of this.
Of
Should
course.
she introduce
Thank you.
herself?
Yeah, can you give us an intro?
Okay, so I am Natassia Dreams. I've been in the industry this year. It's been 2 decades. And I am a ambassador for Pornhub. I'm a performer, award-winning performer. I'm a director, and I'm an advocate. And I really feel like now I'm coming into a position as a voice for the transgender community. And it's a really great feeling to be here. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to continue on with asking everybody, what impacts do you hope to make through your work? So Rae, Anna, and Courtney already answered this question, but if anyone else wants to share, what impact do you hope to make through your work?
I guess I'll go. Yeah, no. So as mentioned before, the impact I hope to make through my work is just sort of a normalization of Asian male sexuality and seeing Asian men as viable romantic options. It's not that we don't exist in Western media, but just in those specific fields, we don't exist in Western media. There's no romantic comedy with the Asian male lead. There is no like real it's kind of remember how big of a deal it was in The Walking Dead when Glenn had an on-screen sex scene with Maggie? That was like a huge deal, and there was a huge deal because no one had really seen that before. It doesn't get shown like regularly. So that's kind of the impact I'm hoping that I leave, is just that we have normalized it. It's not like, oh, it's not weird to see an Asian man in a sexual position, in a sexual role as a romantic lead. And, you know, hopefully that trickles into Hollywood, where it's like, hey, yeah, we can just cast an Asian dude to be the lead for like a rom-com or this romance movie we have, as opposed to right now where we don't exist in that world. Even in Crazy Rich Asians is the only real mainstream rom-com Asian people had. And I think the lead Asian male romantic lead in that was only half Asian. And you know, he's half is still better than zero, but it's kind of like I don't think that we're still quite there yet.
So I recently stepped into another position of power and of representation, because before I was just representing the Black trans community, and I was named as like the token Black girl, and I was the girl that was helping all of these websites meet their quota of being inclusive. And you know, it wasn't a really good feeling to be in, but and this is the reason why I stayed for so long, because if I didn't go and be the scapegoat of these companies to say that they were inclusive, there will be zero representation. And although it went against everything that I was about to go and shoot and work for these companies, I also wanted my girls that came after me to see themselves on these websites and think that it's a possibility to be there. And that gave me so much, it gives me so much joy that I can open the doors and that they can see someone that looks like them on these big mainstream sites and platforms. And now what I love is that I've been able to continue my journey and have my gender confirmation surgery and still be able to shoot and create magical things that I love. And that's also a great representation that we also have lacking in the community, in our industry. And I'm glad that I've had the years of experience and work to show that even though I have gender confirmation surgery, I'm still a great performer. I still give it my all. And other girls too can do the same. If they want to continue the journey and have gender confirmation surgery and they still want to perform, they have someone that has done it before, and now there's not so much rejection or shame, and people can live freely in their bodies and be who they want to be completely.
I think I have a very, very simple hope for my body of work, and it's to encourage people to be more kinky, no matter what color, race, community, where you come from. All I want is for you to practice your kinkiness more. That's it.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next section, which is portrayals. So we've seen the practice of typecasting utilized in both mainstream and adult media when talent is repeatedly hired to portray roles based on singular attributes, not uncommonly based on stereotypes. So how does typecasting have an impact on marginalized groups, whether they are performers or the civilians who are, maybe they're not even watching it, but they're somehow indirectly impacted by other people that view this media?
Well, I could tell you, as like, you know, before I shot porn and everything, I basically whitewashed myself because all I thought was like all I saw and like how it like influenced me was like that the only people that are attractive were white and blonde and thin, which is totally not me. And now I talk like a valley girl because of it. But yeah, that's the impact it has. But like to see, like, I want, like, you know, all these like y'all like kind of break stereotypes. Like Astro, like, you know, you're an Asian pro dom. Leo, you're like, you know, you're performing as an Asian man. Like, I want to see that because like it's important for like people who don't normally see that in their like their roles as that, or see their bodies or seeing themselves in like on screen performing anything, that they could actually, you know, be like, hey, like, I guess I am like people find us attractive. Like, you know, people want to see people like me, just like be more accepting of themselves. So I think that's like, it's important.
So I feel like the typecasting, and I'm sorry that coming in like just, but like I feel this is really bad exclusively, especially for the trans community, because they typecast trans women, most trans women, as tops. And in my career, that's what I was known to do. And like that, so then when people would meet me on a normal basis, that's all they thought that I was into. And in my personal life, I was a totally different person. I'm like a dominant person, I'm a submissive person. And they always portrayed me as a Black trans person to be this strong and dominant and taking over men. And I never played a submissive, beautiful, soft woman, who I am. I've never had a chance to play that in 20, years, like, or maybe in the last 5 or 10 years that we've seen a little shift. But this is where the typecasting goes wrong, because you're giving a message to the fans that this is who I am and what I like. And automatically, since they don't have another option or they don't get to see you in another way, they assume that that's the only way. And then they have this false image in their head that every trans girl is the top, and every trans girl doesn't want to have surgery, and every trans girl, shoots a load across the room. And we're all different forms of people, just like everybody else. When we all have different journeys in our life, and typecasting is bad because it only shows one side of a sexuality or of a person.
Typecasting, I want to punch it in the nuts. Like, I hate typecasting with like a passion of 1,000 suns. Like, it's the most ignorant thing you can do to a person in porn. To this day, the only feature that I played a lead role in that I was supposed to, like, oh, I didn't get it because someone else canceled or whatever, like I was supposed to film it, is Sweet Sweet Sally Mae, which is a blaxploitation film. I'm so much more I'm so much more than that. I'm a human. Like, we do so many things on so many days, and I'm actually in the middle of like turning down more work, because still today in 2024, people have a hard time trying to figure out, like, oh, if I'm going to put Anna in a movie, it must be titled Up Her Black Ass or something like that. And I'm like, what? Why is it that, like, when I work for this same company, I'm a performer of the year or a lesbian of the year or something like that, but if I'm working with more than another Black person, it must be Up Her Black Ass or Black facials matter or something really derogatory, racist, offensive. It's just ignorant. And it's like disappointing to see that some companies can't let go of typecasting, and it's a disservice to the performers, because like Natassia said, like, 9 times out of 10, those aren't even our personalities. And when we get a script or something that relates more to us, we have so much more fun working in that setting. We're more comfortable and everything. But I feel like they've done a really good job in porn at like sneaking typecasting in there. Like, a lot of times they won't tell you, like, oh, you're having a great day on set today, everybody's welcoming, everybody's great. And I don't even recognize, like, I'm not looking in the mirror every 2 seconds. I'm not like, I'm black. So I'm not thinking that they're going to be like, yeah, her black ass busted it open. Like, I'm not thinking that's what today's titled. I just thought it was great. What a great day. So yeah, I would like to punch typecasting in the nuts, personally. That's it.
I think to piggyback on top of Anna's what she just said, is that it's sometimes out of our control how scenes are titled and labeled and marketed and put out there. So while we may have been like, okay, it was just a good day where I got to just be myself, or Anna got to be herself, and we just shot a good scene and things like that. And then we see the marketing for the scene, we see the advertisement, we see the title they gave to it, and we go, oh yeah, no, that's not great. And the problem is, like, right. And the problem is, like, when there's no counter content out there, counter narrative to that, and that's all that the consumers are seeing, it reinforces the prejudice, it reinforces the stereotypes, it reinforces these ideas where a lot of people may never really, maybe from locations that lack diversity. So they may never meet a trans person. They may never really meet an Asian man. They may not have any Black friends and so forth. So they're seeing these titles, they're seeing this art, they're, what it is. And if it has a negative if it's negative portrayal, it reinforces deep-seated stereotypes and ideas they already have in their mind. And with nothing else to counterbalance that, it just roots that in even deeper and makes them think that that is true. That has to be true, correct? Because I see nothing to say that it's not true. One example that's specifically for me would be like, the stereotype that Asian men don't have, aren't don't have normal sized penises. Like there's a stereotype that Asian men are just very small down there. Well, when you don't see any Asian men in porn, and you don't have any Asian men that you've ever like hooked up and had sex with, or as another man who has no intention of having sex with another man, there's nothing to disprove that, right? So then it's easy to start believing that that is just the truth. So when you start seeing Asian men in porn with, normal size appendages and things like that, then that's like, okay, there's something that's countering that message. There's at least like actual evidence and proof out there fighting against the stereotype. But when you don't have anything like that, then the stereotypes grow and people start thinking those stereotypes as absolute truths. So yeah, and that's kind of, once again, why representation matters.
I just want to say thank you for everything that everyone's said. What Natasha said about being trans in porn is really powerful. And I see the hard work you do, and thank you. And as far as typecasting goes, like I, have to accept my privilege a little bit. Like, both like in my whiteness, I've never been, typecast because of my race, but I've also, I feel like another privilege I had was, like a choice. I guess I had like a choice to make independent porn when I was 19, because I was watching porn and seeing how they treated fat people. I was very much interested in fat porn. But in my discoveries of pornography, in my explorations, all I ever saw was of fat women being humiliated. So, like violently, really force fed, force fucked, all of it. I saw so much scary porn looking at that stuff. And at the other, on the other end of it, all of this alternative indie porn that was popping up in the early 2000s was so glossy and glitzy and nice. But I didn't see myself at all anywhere in like Suicide Girls or, Vivid Alt or any of those places that I would have really fit in a really young age. So I didn't do any of them. I didn't really want to get humiliated or be a scapegoat. So I just started making my own porn. That was kind of my answer. So, the privilege to be in this industry and have so little experience with mainstream typecasting, I think, is both because of my fatness and also a choice that I made to just not participate as much as I could. And in that independent production, I think I've been able to avoid the humiliating straight fat porn that's out there, and the people in the adult industry that take advantage of and target minorities. I feel like I've missed a lot of that. I just like dodged a lot of bullets. And yet it's sad because I would love to have my body in porn represented in a mainstream type of way. And even to this day, I've only ever said yes to one like corporate scene, which was really beautiful. And it's still like I had to go ahead and accept that the name of the site I was working for was Shape of Beauty. And just in and of itself, it's a fat brand. So I'm still waiting for the day that I'm not just like typecast as a fat person, but that's like the more like the longer it goes on, I feel like the more fat phobic porn actually is getting. I feel like there was a time of body positivity, and I feel like those times are long gone. And it's just worth saying, like, fatness isn't a choice. Like, it's not like I can just wake up tomorrow and not be fat. It's that this is how I look. It's my body. I can't change it. I can't mask it. I disguise it. So the porn industry is extremely fat phobic still to this day. It's going to continue getting worse. And yeah, I think that for me, I've refused the typecasting as much as possible, even to the point of like not really being in the porn industry because it's so prevalent.
They can't just have normal like porn brands or anything. Like they can't just be like, hey, this is normal porn. They have to like make the name. So like, I don't want to
Yeah.
name the names, but it's just so like, why does that have to be a part of the name title?
Yeah.
To like,
Are we not obviously like fat, black, like Korean? Like, are we not obviously like ourselves that we need to take? Hey, by the way, if you didn't know.
Yeah,
Or
it goes
like
it's
they're
just, like, really
different, but they're the
rude.
pretty ones. I don't know. Like it always feels like we're like some kind of exception sometimes. Like,
other,
yeah,
right?
like there's the others, but then there's this
Yeah.
really pretty other we're gonna put in to like no to be inclusive.
There you have
I
it.
see you, girl.
Maybe that's why the indie adult scene is, you know, so prevalent, because people do have that opportunity to take control of the narrative. And, you know, maybe if they don't want to participate in contributing to like those harmful stereotypes, you know, they at least have more control to put out the content that they want to.
Yeah.
So how can we incorporate then more positive, ethical portrayals in adult media to combat stereotypes?
Just answered that because we're all like, you know, we are making indie content to kind of counteract all that, because that's pretty much the only way. Unless like once you become outspoken, companies tend to not want to hire you more. Like,
But I
so I
have a
think the
great
only
idea.
changing, yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's also a huge part of it, honestly.
Yeah, the more outspoken you are, it's like about change, the less you're
Yeah.
like gonna get hired. But at the same time, that change needs to happen.
Mhm.
So we have to create our own content to do that.
That's so crazy because I was having this conversation with the performer earlier, and it was the same situation. Like, you know, she's a named girl in the industry. You know, she's trans, and like, you know, there's a lot of injustice going on. But at the same time, you know, we have to live and we have to eat. And when you start speaking, like you said, like your financial stability is in stake, which it shouldn't be because you're speaking against the system. So what my thing is now, and what I'm trying to do, and what I've learned in this process, is like you have to infiltrate the system if you want to change it. You can't stand outside from the outside screaming and want them to change. You have to get inside, and you have to get power, and then you have to either inflict the change, suggest it, however you can, you know, whatever power that you can from the inside. And also what you can do, and what I see is working, because I just started a commotion on X about a company, is get the fans to talk about it. They're listening, because that's who's paying their subscriptions. That's who's asking for the girls that they want to shoot. And all of our fans together are powerful. And if we tell all of their fans that, hey, this company is not ethical, this company is not treating the girls right, this company is fatphobic, this company is transphobic, trust me, our fans are going to go where we tell them to go. And they're going to tell these companies, hey, we don't like this company because this, and this. And trust me, they're listening. I just found out they're listening. They're watching, they're reading. They know what we're saying. They know exactly what we're talking about. They don't want to hear from us because we're the problem, we're aggressive, we're this and we're that. But they're listening from the people that are paying those subscriptions. So get your fans to talk about it, period.
It's really smart.
And I think, again, just add on top of all that is that we are currently in the best time for independent creation. So we're not as reliant on the studios as we were before, which gives us the ability to both push back against, stereotypical roles and things, that typecast roles they may give us, to say, hey, I don't actually need to do this. I can do my own thing. I can brand myself. I can have my own, I can make my own content, and I have my own fan base. And as we grow our content, our fan base and so forth through the use of social media, tube sites and all that stuff, we have a lot more power and say when it comes to dealing with the studios, right? Because yeah, they might not want to deal with you if you're very vocal about things, but if you're seeing sell like crazy, they'll deal with you. You know what I mean? Like they'll put up with a lot of stuff, because at the end of the day, money talks. And that's the core root of this industry. Is it's an industry, it's a business, it's about making money. So I think we have a lot of problems and challenges to face and deal. We're not anywhere near the end of the end of the tunnel just yet, but we are very optimistic. I see a light in the distance, because we all now have so much more control of ourselves, our brand, and how we can utilize that, leverage that to make positive change within the industry. And we're no longer just simply beholden to the wealthy powers that be and have to play their game, song and dance and so forth, to try to, pay our rent. We as performers have a lot more say. And because the internet is a global thing, we're able to find our audience all over the world. And we're able to use that and leverage that back against the studios to say, hey, you should book me for a scene that's not stereotypical and typecasty and this and this. And people want to see it. So I do think we're trending in a positive direction. We're just not quite fully there yet.
So these days, porn is more accessible than ever for both consumers and aspiring creators and performers. Incoming talent can now join the adult industry by simply registering for an account with an online platform and submitting their proof of age documents. Regardless of their long-term aspirations for a career in adult, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the importance of personal responsibility. So whether it's an independent or mainstream production, what should creators keep in mind to ensure that the content they're creating is ethical and or does not cause unintended harm to others? And this will be our last question for whoever wants to chime in.
All right, I have some thoughts. Anna, do you want to have?
No, okay. Go ahead. Go first.
No, so this is a thing, and this is sort of a problem we kind of see sometimes with new or independent creators who are so hungry to go viral that they start doing sort of unethical type stuff. And it's a constant reminder that like your actions affect others. Again, what we create is not in a vacuum and is not consumed in a vacuum. They don't point a finger and say that one person did something unethical. They point a finger and say the porn industry did something unethical. So there's a constant reminder that like, yes, you might be in the search for immediate cash by doing something that's viral now, but if you get all of us banned, you make $0. So you have to think the long term. You have to think the big picture. What is your role in this thing? You are, as an individual, none of us are the porn industry, right? An industry by definition is multiple people working towards the same sort of product goal, idea, and so forth. So I guess that's sort of my thought to that is to new people coming in is you need to remember that you're part of an industry, you're part of a collective. There's a lot of people involved, and that your actions do affect other people. Whether whether you've never met these people or ever at all, your actions still affect other people. And we do need to be very mindful of that. When you're chasing your viral fame, how does this look from the outside looking in? How does this affect other people in this industry? How does this affect other people's livelihoods? Because if you get us all banned and we can't create content anymore, maybe you could walk away and be okay because you were only doing it for a month, so there's not a lot of content out there. Those of us who have years into this, now we're fucked because somebody was chasing virality by doing something unethically in the public. And now we're all getting fucked over here because those of us with years in it, we can't just walk away and be like, oh, that wasn't us. This is our lives now. This is who we are now, So it's something I've thought about for a bit, and I wish I could kind of yell at the people when I see them trying to chase virality on social media and so forth, to be like, just kind of shake and be like, what are you doing? Do you not see the bigger picture? what is wrong with you?
It's
For
kind of
sure,
like our responsibility as more established, knowing better porn performers to let them know, because they are coming in on an independent wave. It's not like once they sign up for OnlyFans or whatever platform, they're like, hey, by the way, these things are frowned upon. You know, they don't get like any kind of information. They literally like learn on the fly. And what I've seen that works is like literally like our community like correcting them when they post that type of content, like whatever it is, because these new mimsies have been going hard. They've been going out of control. So it's like I feel like it's our responsibility, like when we see it, to be like, no, and this is why, and these are other things that you can do. Like no one's trying to like kink shame you or anything like that, but there's like a way that things should be done that can be done to like not offend people. You know, if you want to stay on this or that topic, you can do that, but just do it so it's not offensive, like Leo said, so we can have an industry to work in. But yeah, I feel like we're kind of like Big Brother, where we gotta keep an eye out.
Yeah.
I do think
I
though
was gonna
it
say
gets a
the
little.
same thing.
Oh, sorry. I do think it gets a little bit tricky at times though, because we are in the world of film and there is film magic, right? Like we don't want to tell everyone exactly the details of some of the stuff. Like for example, is I've seen lots of girls do like, you know, sexy photo shoots or video scenes at a convenience store. What people don't realize is that convenience store is a set. That's, or like a closed location. That's not just a random convenience store out down the road. They didn't just go to the random corner 7-Eleven and film something. Oftentimes they have like a closed location where they can do that safely. But then other smaller creators, new creators see that content. They don't have the context to be like, oh yeah, that's that set at that location. I've been there before. So then they go to their local convenience store and try to film something too. And then that's kind of where we end up with having little problems and so forth. And I don't have a good solution to that. It's just something that I see though, is people not understanding sometimes that like, yeah, that public place that you think they just did publicly actually wasn't a public place. It was someone's backyard. It was very much a private closed location. But it doesn't seem that way when you see just the clip. So yeah, I don't have a good solution to that, but that is part of the problem I see though.
I was gonna say that Leo had me really like had all my gears going of like, what would I say to a new person like coming into the industry making indie porn? Is like, I know people get into sex work and porn for a lot of reasons, and sometimes it can be out of duress overnight. So all that be considered, I feel like having knowledge around porn literacy and sex education and media literacy is extremely important for anyone joining the porn industry. So whether get it before, you know, do your research before you come into the industry, or if you come in just quickly, that's okay, welcome. But like porn literacy, sex education, researching intimacy coordination, or even taking the training, which is something I do just as like a director, is that I've absolutely researched intimacy training. I want to be able to do that on set, even if I'm the videographer. So, you know, and I'm like in year 22. So, you know, like that's the advice I would give to year one, is like educate yourself and listen when someone smart like Leo or Anna or Natasha come into your comments and say, hey, we don't really do that here.
Out of love, guys.
Always.
You all are pretty much all like, you all have said everything I want to say. It was just like people need to be more self-aware and educate themselves.
Sure.
It's like this industry is it's business, it's a job. You don't just like, you know,
Yeah.
get into a job and not know what the fuck you're doing. You actually have to like read, like, you know, you gotta, and also being more self-aware, like that once you start making, like, you know, making content and like, you know, if it goes viral and this and that, like you also need to be aware that you've got a lot more eyes on you, and now you're representing, like, you know, a bigger industry, like more than just yourself. You're like, you know, what Leo was saying earlier. It's self-aware, educate, you know, educate yourself.
I just want to add that I feel like also, and I feel this is what I want to do. I want to give examples, because, you know, people learn by examples. So I want to start creating content that is like, you know, and when I direct, I want content that's seen from a different eye, that's not a straight cisgender man's eyes. Like I want, when I do my scenes or I direct my scenes, it's something that I would literally want to do, or something that I've done, or something that I fantasize of. And I feel like we need to bring that as performers back into our work, our passion back into our work, because our work is very mechanical now, and that's how I feel it got so flooded. There's no passion in the work anymore. So I feel like, as me as a performer, I only want to work with projects that I feel passionate about, partners that I feel passionate about. This is why I haven't shot a movie in a year or two. You know, like it's not, for me, it's not giving what it needs to give. And I feel we need to start giving a better example, you know, step, as T.S. Madison said, step our pussy up. You know what I mean? If we want the new kids to see that what they're supposed to be doing, we also have to show them as well and say, hey, you guys, look, this is how it's done. You want to know how you run an ethical porn set? You know, give them behind the scenes, give them a little note of however what help you that we need to help us work. Pass it along, but make it easily accessible and probably even visual, not even like to read. I feel like it will be better in like a video, how to, or something like that, because that's easy processable. You can get the information and you can keep it moving. That would be my suggestion. Like that's what I'm trying to do. I would love to do.
How to ethical porn 101.
There is. We Aorta Films does a workshop called Indie Porn 101, and Max Capacity runs it. And that's like an indie queer porn gem that I can just drop right here. Is that education absolutely exists now, and I'm definitely like worried and inspired by this conversation to make sure that the new generation of indie porn folks, which basically everyone is now in this content creator world, know who we are, know like all the work that this group has done in our own independent careers to kind of create ethical porn, because I think we've all had a hand in that just by surviving and strategizing against what we've been put through. So we are what they need.
Yeah, but I'm pointing out like
and
Aorta
I pledge to be generous. I pledge to be more generous to the younger generation, if you guys do too.
But also, like, you know, pointing out that Aorta is like an indie production things, like before, like you mentioned that, did we know that it existed at all? Like more mainstream eyes should be seeing that there is like, you know, ethical porn 101, but they're not highlighting it because they wanted like, you know, abide from their own rules and like.
Just, you know, start your indie porn company and just keep going, and don't worry about getting attention from like crabby old straight dudes who like are holding on to some super ancient idea of what porn is, because it's just, it doesn't even exist anymore.
Period.
I love you,
So if you are an incoming indie creator, don't hesitate to reach out to your aunties, your uncles, your cousins over here.
Hell yeah.
They're here to help guide you.
But also don't be creepy about it, because when you're sliding into our DMs and like, you know, being like, you know, how do I get into porn? Here's my dick pic.
No.
Oh my God, no. I mean, send a tip. Send a tip, and then send us an email that says, hello, I hope this reaches you well. I sent you a tip and I would like to ask you some questions.
That part.
Or be serious, like, you know, if your intention is real and serious, like you don't go with black, like, you know, bursting in with like, you know, or just like
I just bought
intentional with your message.
Yeah, I just bought 5-year clips. How do you do that?
I'll say, yeah, if you can't even come in, if you can't be professional as you're coming in, then we kind of have the idea that you can't be professional once you're in here. And if you can't be professional, we don't want you here. That's sort of the thing. That's what's keeping everyone safe, is keeping all that out. So I guess if you're going to reach out to performers or whatnot, if you're curious, have questions, be professional. Think of this as a business. How would you email your boss? How would you email your manager? How would you email a potential job opportunity that you want? You wouldn't be like, hey, job opening? Question mark. That would
how do
be
I
like,
job?
Right. So
Want a job?
Professional.
I really appreciate all of you for taking the time. And I know we could go on about this. I really appreciate you all. And thank you to Rae, too, our community partner for August, for putting this all together. So thank you, Rae.